Hi, Clutter Fairy fans. This is the Clutter Fairy Weekly for September 16th, 2025. I'm your co-host, Ed Gumnick, and I'm speaking with Gayle Goddard, certified professional organizer and owner of the Clutter Fairy in Houston, Texas.
Hi, everybody. The Clutter Fairy Weekly is the webcast and podcast that digs deep into the clutter that piles up between you and the life that you want to be living. We explore the habits and behaviors that lead to clutter, and we suggest strategies to slow the accumulation, reduce the collection, and comfortably manage the stuff we decide to keep.
If you're new to our Zoom meeting, we want to let you know that you can share your comments and questions via the chat, and I'll try to make sure Gayle addresses them before we move on to another topic. You can also use the raise hand feature if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment yourself via audio or video. And we are streaming the webcast live on Facebook, so you can share your questions and comments there, and I'll relay them to Gayle. We'll start as usual by discussing last week's Weekly Tittle, which was called Gracious Regifting. The assignment was to make space for new incoming gifts with the season coming up by eliminating something that no longer serves you, even though it was a gift. Let's hear from our participants in Zoom and on Facebook. Who decluttered a gift this week? Please let us know in the comments. Facebook follower Dawson shared an early Tittle report in a comment on last week's video. Dawson wrote, "Yay, I don't have to do the Tittle since I always deal with unwanted gifts promptly. Perhaps my smartest decluttering move."
Good for you, Dawson. It's a good habit to be prepared for what you'll do when you receive an unwanted gift, because it's bound to happen to you sooner or later. If what you do now about gifts you don't like means that you end up with things in the house that make you feel guilty or crowded or uncomfortable for any reason, then I'd say what you do now isn't working and it's time to find another solution that doesn't make you feel that way. It's your house, it's your life in that house, and you have the right to curate the contents in a way that makes you feel peaceful and restored instead of guilty and burdened. No one's gift to you should create a burden to you. Then it's not really a gift. So I get, I personally am not going to, I'm not tossing out gifts left and right. I don't get that many gifts now at my stage in my life. I'm not getting tons of gifts coming at me, but I do try to give suggestions when people ask for them. I appreciate whatever somebody gives, and I decide what I need in my life versus what doesn't work for me. And that's generally my philosophy around gifts. And I'm just always making the suggestion to you that if what you do about gifts right now makes you feel burdened and unhappy, then that's probably not the best thing to keep doing, and to figure out something that makes you feel better about it instead. And release what doesn't work for you. That's what we're talking about. And that sounds like that's what Dawson's already done. So
Yeah.
good for you, Dawson. Congrats. I'm sure the audience is envious around that.
Jacqueline's Tittle report is kind of tangential on the subject of the giving side of gifts. Jacqueline says, "My friend's husband passed away, so I wanted to send her a card. I found one in my card stash and realized that I had a ridiculous amount of cards and gift bags. The cards had been organized at one point because they were all matched with envelopes, but there
Mm.
were way more than I would ever need, so I kept a few I liked and decluttered the rest. Gift bags I sorted into occasions, then pared down so that everything fit comfortably into a plastic tote. I also found an unopened envelope stuck inside one of the gift bags with a Starbucks gift card from my aunt from Christmas 2017.
There, you got paid for all the work that you did.
Yes.
You got a gift card out of it. That's awesome. And I think, yeah, gift bags and decorate, cards, and it's all pretty, they're all cool looking, that they are designed to be appealing, and there's something lovely about looking at a stack of cards and finding all the images, and they're funnier, they're prettier, they're soothing or relaxing or whatever when you look at them, and they don't all have to live with you. Like, by definition, you're not going to find cards, most likely you're not going to find cards that you think are really awful. So it's just going to be a matter of, some of them aren't your style. Maybe you have Father's Day and Mother's Day cards, except that your fathers and mothers have passed away, or Maybe you have cards for a brother and you don't actually have a brother. Like you may end up with some occasion
Right.
cards that don't make sense. And you can filter those out, but that's not going to be a huge volume. So
Maybe everyone you know has aged out of the bar mitzvah card part of their
right,
lives.
exactly. And so there, there's a little bit of attrition that makes sense, but that's just going to, peel a collection off the edges of the collection. It's not going to take very much out. But ultimately, all that gift wrapping and all those packages and those bags and the tissue, it's all pretty by definition. That's what it's for. And so deciding whether it's pretty or not isn't going to reduce your collection. You're just going to have to decide what pretty you're going to keep and what pretty you're going to give away and reduce the collection down to a box that makes sense to you, to a volume that makes sense to you. And
Yeah,
that's exactly what our Tittle response person did. And
that
so
was
good for them.
yeah, Jacqueline. Yeah, Jacqueline
Jacqueline.
applied the container method. She
Hmm.
decided what was the volume that was appropriate to hang on to and kept it. I
Yeah.
used to I used to buy cards every time I saw one that I liked, and then
Mm.
at some point I realized that I had enough birthday cards for Todd for the rest of his life and hardly anyone else because our mutual friend Todd has a sense of humor that's warped in a very similar direction to mine. So I could, the cards that I found super funny were always for Todd.
Because he was the one that would understand them, right?
I could have sent Todd, like a card every month for his birthday. Lisa Beth says, a teacher's gift that I don't remember who it came from. And since I was a teacher for the deaf and had most of my students for three high school, I thought I was getting into, sorry, I thought she was going to explain how she got rid of it, but she kind of trailed off. So let's see. Naomi says, I try to cultivate the attitude that pre-printed cards are unnecessary, that if I write a message entirely in my own handwriting on a piece of paper, that is a more meaningful personal gesture. That is true.
That's a fair point.
Especially
That's
with,
absolutely
and some of the cards, gosh, I don't even remember. I haven't shopped for cards in a long time. And that's partly because they were creeping up into the, $3, $4, $5 range,
yeah, per card, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I would much rather receive a scrap of paper torn out of a notebook on which you wrote a couple of dozen words to me.
Right? Because it's very personal in that way at that moment. And so it makes it much more valuable between the two of you. I see that. And so then you can use blank cards and you can write the occasion note on the inside and it's all in your handwriting. It's very personalized to the person you're giving it to. And that makes it special. It's a good
Okay,
thing to
sorry,
do.
Lisa clarified what she said is she got rid of a teacher's gift and she didn't remember where it came from because she was a teacher for the same students from 3 years old until high school.
Oh, gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So she hung out with them for
Yeah.
a decade.
And she's saying, if I don't remember them, it's rare. So that gift that she couldn't remember who it
Who it
came
was
from, she
from.
could safely give away.
There you go.
She gave it to someone with a willow tree collection. I'm not
There you
familiar
go.
with willow tree. Are you?
Yeah,
Is it
it's
collectible?
a decor theme decor thing. Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
Samudra says, I'm currently culling cards I've received over the years. Emotional.
Right, it's a hard thing to do for people that keep all the cards without filter
Yeah.
as you're getting them.
Yeah.
Then when you go back through it again, it's like, wow, this is a lot of cards to go through. So uh, it is, it's a walk through down memory lane, right? And you end up giving up the ones where the person said love me, fill
Right,
in my
right.
name, right? And those were not as special as the ones where they wrote, I hope you have a great day, or I'm wishing for you that this year will be special, or I know you're having a hard time and I'm thinking of you. Like any way that they personalize it a little bit beyond signing their name becomes the more valuable card, and the one that just says love me is not, by comparison, is not as important. And so you end up screening for gradation, right?
Yes. Yeah. How good is good enough to keep is
Yeah,
you have to set the standard for
set the
yourself.
standard exactly.
Let's get on with our main topic,
Okay,
or main group of topics, because we're doing
right.
Ask Us Anything today. What are we supposed to do with art and craft projects after we've finished them? How can chronically cluttered people learn to be comfortable in a decluttered space? Today is Ask Us Anything episode, so we're going to answer these and other viewer and listener questions and discuss short topics suggested by our audience in our surveys and social media channels. Let's start with that one about our creative craft output.
Mhm.
This was from an anonymous viewer who wrote to say, what bothers me about doing a craft is what do I do with the end project? The enjoyment is from creating, but then I have this product at the end that I don't necessarily want. So I get hung up on not even starting a project because the end product becomes clutter. How do you handle this? Other audience members have asked similar questions. If you create art and craft projects for your own enjoyment, how do you keep your creative output from becoming clutter in your home?
This is always an issue if you're into a hobby at all. And the quick answer is to sell them, but this is a whole other ball of wax. It takes a bunch of time and effort to sell, and that's not why you do the hobby, right? So, how to pass the end product along? I would suggest taking some to a resale store, more than one resale store actually. If you have no big issue in what you sell them for, but you just want the end products to pass to someone else, take them to a resale store. They have open store hours and regular customers. Maybe some will sell to someone, and what doesn't sell usually gets donated. So try it with several resale stores to sort of spread the wealth around. You can also try a table at a local church festival. Lots of this happens over the fall and holiday season, which we're just about to start for. There's cheap tables, built-in customers, and if you price them well, they might be taken home. And just remember that your goal is to rehome them. That's the goal. You can offer them at a garage sale if your neighborhood has one of those neighborhood-wide versions where lots of people will be going through the neighborhood. Again, not to make tons of money, but with the goal to rehome them. You can always donate them to a local charity, to a silent auction for a charity, to a school auction. Lots of times, elementary school, middle schools have some kind of auction to donate to benefit the school or a school program, and you can offer them to donate to those charities. You can put them at the curb and take a picture and post them as free to a good home on next door. It might be a little unnerving to try and give them away or sell them, but it's a reasonable thing to try a few of these to clear out what is now clutter to you. Because there are only so many gifts you can give to your relatives, and you're likely making way more than you have relatives, right? I mean, I think about my own collection of finished beaded pieces. I I can't I can't I only have so many female relatives that will take beaded jewelry, and they won't all wear the style that I make. A lot of what I make is very busy and very big, and it's not necessarily somebody's style to wear something like that. So that doesn't work for me to give it away as gifts very often. And usually when I do that, it's because they've asked for something specific, and I make something tailored to them, not just giving them my output. And I keep a lot of things that I wear that I make because I want to be able to wear them. I make them and then I wear them, and I've given these away as auction items to be resold to help raise money for something. And so it's really how prolific you are and how much output you've accumulated and you have to get rid of. I think that, my best suggestion has always been go to a resale store and put it into the pipeline. And either it'll go out the store and somebody will buy it, or if it sits there for 3 months and nobody buys it, then it'll be donated away and it'll benefit another charity because of the donation. And so those are my ideas off the top of my head about what to do about and to recognize that it really is your hobby really is about the experience of being creative, and what it isn't necessarily about getting the end product in the end. It's about having the experience of starting from scratch and doing the creative work that gets you to the finished product. And for you, if that's the enjoyment and it's not the object at the end, then you know, uh, going through the process of surrendering those things. You don't have to, my point is, you don't have to keep it all in your house. You can surrender it in another way. And it doesn't have to be about making a bunch of money off of it. It just has to be about redistribution. So try resale, try some of those little local sales, put it up for free on Nextdoor and let it walk away.
It kind of depends on what you make too.
That's true.
Connie says, I donate many of my stuffed animals slash pin cushions, etc., to the parish for their bazaar.
Oh, there you go. Like they usually have some kind of bazaar, right? That's about raising money for the church
Yeah.
or their focused charities or whatever, right?
Most of my creative output is portraits of the pets of friends and neighbors.
Yeah, other people's pets,
And
right?
so they're already designated to go away as soon as I finish them.
Right?
I am going to have to figure out what to do with the 1,000 drawings I've made of my own dog. And Jaime and I actually have talked about going through and picking a dozen of the best ones and making a little hardy wall somewhere in the house.
Oh, we need a little hardy wall, right?
Some of them are, just sketches that are this big. So
Yeah,
he's
but
he's
that's,
gonna he's gonna look for, thrift store frames for the little stuff.
yeah, and just put them up on the wall. That'd be so cute.
Um,
Absolutely.
Deborah says, fortunately, my two hobbies, reading and soap making, have willing recipients. I pass on almost all DT books, and everyone gets soap for birthdays and Christmas.
That's awesome. Soap for Christmas, and soap is a consumable, right? So you can use it up and then it's gone.
Um, E says, don't know if this is a widespread phenomenon yet. However, in my area, there's a free art little library, like a little free art library for books that is for
Oh,
art.
that's cool. I haven't
That
heard of that
that's pretty
before.
cool. That's something to look out for.
I
Yeah.
like that.
Smoocher says turn them into a screensaver. I don't know if that was a suggestion for all my photos of Hardy.
Yeah, why
Yes, yeah,
not?
yeah.
You can just have a rolling hardy, spinning picture collection.
Naomi says if you take up knitting, you can have a designated recipient before you start each project. That's
Mm.
a good idea. Okay, let's go on.
Okay.
Where are we? Anita, right?
Anita's
Yeah.
next. Hmm.
Anita wrote to say, I'm staying at one of my daughter's houses at the moment, and it is lovely and clean and clutter-free, but not much to do there. I'm cat sitting, and the cat is asleep most of the time. Anyway, my point is, how do we cope with our decluttered spaces without resorting to filling them again? It's so new to not be looking around for things to get rid of. I have hobbies, but there's still a sense of emptiness. I'm curious. I want to hear from our live audience about this. Have you struggled with a sense of emptiness or a discomfort with the white space? What do you think, Gail?
This is a really great question to ask. Once there's no more decluttering to do, you need a new hobby. But really, you need something to grab your attention, something that occupies your mind and keeps your interest. I love my cats, but an empty house and a sleeping cat are not enough entertainment. It's time to start getting out, seeing friends, going to events, seeing a movie, go to a play, a concert, an art gallery, a museum. What do you find interesting? And more importantly, whom do you find interesting? Time to call up some friends, plan a night out to dinner at a restaurant that you never tried, and catch up on their lives. Then start talking about what you find worth investigating. Volunteer your time somewhere, try a class at the Y, catch a lecture at church, head to the local senior center for classes and board games and gossip. Ask your friends what they find fascinating and tell them what you find fascinating, and then figure out how to have an experience around that. Where can you see or do what you find interesting? Try a few of them and see how it goes. Maybe you won't like what you tried, so try another one next instead. My point is you've cleared the space out in your home. Now this is where you have to start doing your life instead of managing your stuff. Go find an interesting thing to do or three. You won't hate all of it. If you listen to yourself and what you're truly interested in, you'll have some fun and be grateful for the enriching experience. Don't be afraid. Take some risks. You do not have to be empty along with your empty house. Our minds can hold an infinite amount of things. So go out there and start stuffing your mind and your heart instead of your house. I think we talk about all the time at the Clutter Fairy, clear your clutter, live your life. Our goal is about having you give up stuff management and take on life management instead. And if you've reached the place where your house is together and you're happy with it, awesome. And all you need is maintenance routines to keep it together, and then you can go about thinking about something else and doing something else. And I say that because people, clients, you as an audience have reflected to us that you feel like the clutter makes you feel guilty, and it makes you feel bad, like you're not doing something you're supposed to be doing, and you can't have fun because you have to deal with the clutter. But if you have gotten to the place where the house is basically empty and doesn't have much going on in it anymore, you do not want to fill it back up with more stuff that you have to declutter. Like, we don't want your goal in life to be, I'm going to declutter until I die. Like, that is not what you want out of this. We want you to be able to put that project to bed and go out and interact with your friends and find things that are interesting, and ask them what their hobbies are and what are they into. And if you don't have any ideas, start talking to people that you know or people that you don't know. What are you into? Tell me what you're into.
See, you give more of an extrovert's answer to this question than I would.
Okay, so what's the introvert's answer to
The
the question?
the introvert's answer for me, the answer starts with if I reached the point where there was nothing clamoring at me needing to be done,
uh
the next thing I would do is meditation.
oh, okay.
Meditation is harder to do in a cluttered space.
mm, I'm sure.
Meditation is hard to do in a cluttered mind, and a cluttered
mm,
space creates a cluttered mind,
Compounds it,
or
yeah.
vice versa.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so for me, it would always be start with meditation because you'll find clarity for more things. You may just find peace with the white space, peace with the
mm,
emptiness, you know.
mm.
Naomi says, "What is this emptiness of which you speak?" And I would imagine that a lot of people here uh,
Haven't gotten there yet.
haven't gotten there yet would
mm,
love to know. JB says, "Still looking forward to the empty space."
right.
M says, "I feel panicky in minimalist houses where I am a guest, for fear of leaving something out of place. When
mm.
my own space was perfect, I was at loose ends for something to do."
Well, and I am challenging you. If all you have spent your time doing is making the house better and you finally arrive there, now you have given yourself the window of opportunity to go and find something that you think is fun. Like, the whole point of all this work is to figure out what you think is interesting. And I'm think as you were talking about the introvert's version of this, like, I think about Karen, my friend Karen, who is like a serious introvert. And for her, being in the house and doing stuff in the house that is not about the physical contents, but like, she is a sports fanatic, so she can always watch a game on TV and be entertained. She is happy to be watching movies. She's happy to read, research. She will go down a research rabbit hole about how to fix a problem for her clients about productivity. And like, she finds all kinds of things fascinating. And I know that reading and learning about those things is entertainment to her. I couldn't spend all of my time doing that kind of work in the house. I'd start to get buggy after a few days. But she is perfectly happy with her own company and her own interests and pursuing learning and understanding about them. And so there's got to be something that you are fascinated by, that you find appealing, that you can start chasing and learning about and experiencing. And the gamut is all over the place. And if you don't have any ideas, do a deep dive on the internet. What do people do for fun? What do people do for hobbies? Start asking your friends, people that you know, what do you do for fun? What do you do to entertain yourself? And let people describe it to you.
Samudra says host dinner or a party.
Yeah,
Um,
right. Have your friends over finally.
Deborah says no discomfort with the white space for me, less mental stress and more time for everything else.
Mm.
I'm with Deborah on this. Deborah and Deborah is my Vienna soulmate. I have
Right?
I'm fortunate to
You
have
guys are in alignment, right?
lots of soulmates scattered around the world.
Right.
But yeah, for me, it's like, oh wow, if I ever finish the decluttering and backlog of a million other things that are on my to-do list, I have a long list waiting of things I will do more of. I will read more. I will write more. I will draw more. I will meditate. I will exercise more, and so on.
Right.
Um, I think it's a good we're this is we're gonna use this for our tittle today because I think it's a good exercise to think about what it is that you're working toward.
What do you want to waste your time doing? You've been wasting your time decluttering the house. When you get to the bottom of that, what do you get to waste it on instead? There's got to be something.
Michelle says, I found that the more I have decluttered, the less my tolerance for clutter. So I never feel done. And also somehow some spaces reclutter while I'm not looking unless I keep on top of it.
Right? You got to have the maintenance habits in place, right? That's a very important part because you continue to live in the space and the possibility for it to accumulate or get out of control still exists. And so you have to do the maintenance chores that are just going to be part of living in the house. Like once you get it down to a manageable level, then you do the maintenance chores to keep it together. And you do that, you get it down to the maintenance chores are fast and furious. You can get it done in a hurry, and then you can turn about your life and go back to the things that you find are fun. I know people that sing in choirs. I know people that like to do dance. I know people that like to like Ed said, he likes to write, he likes to draw. They're very singular pursuits. I know people that like to go. My little sister likes to travel a lot. She likes to be out in front of people and talking to strangers. There's a million things to do, and there's you just have to go fishing until you find one that you like. And at the very least, you can put yourself out as a volunteer to support an organization that you appreciate and spend some time out in the world, giving back to the environment, giving back to your universe in a way that it feels meaningful to you while go looking for what you find as your passion, your next passion, your newest 5 things that you're interested in.
Deborah also suggested learn a language.
Oh,
And
there's a good one.
even though I don't have time for it, I am right now studying Polish, um, Hawaiian, and Esperanto in
Oh,
Duolingo.
that's an
Yeah.
interesting collection. Wow.
I studied Gaelic, Irish Gaelic,
Yeah, I remember
until
back
I
in the
ran out
day.
because they didn't have a super long
They
uh,
have a big Gaelic
curriculum in
collection.
that. Yeah. I'm going to give the last word to this one in JB, who says, when we solve our external problems, we are left with our internal. That's scary.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Time
yeah.
to go inward and sit with what's there, feel the feels, accept everything about yourself, and then grow the self-love. This is the work behind the work, the real juicy challenge.
Very well said.
Hmm.
Excellent point. And you're right. I'm describing, figuring out what's going on with you and what you find enriching, and that is all about looking inward and seeing who you are and what makes your heart sing, and that's a whole nother ball of wax. And I think you're right that if the clutter is a distraction from something else that you have left to work on, then I think it's time to go work on it and reclaim it and reclaim your life so that it's something that's enriching to you that makes you happy.
Okay, next question came from C, the letter C. How do you talk yourselves out of impulse purchases?
That is a very short and pointed question that everybody has to deal with, I'm sure. So my immediate response is you want to implement cooling off periods. Figure out a way to buy, in air quotes, without actually buying. So fill that shopping cart online, but do not purchase it. Save the cart, and you're not allowed to buy for 36 hours. You have to wait a day and a half before purchasing. If after 36 hours you can still open that card up and it's filled with I gotta have it, then you can still go buy it. But I would say that that instant click a disable buy it now feature. Like don't don't let the like saving the credit card into the system and you click it and it's immediately bought before you even have a second to think about it. Don't let yourself do that. Put stuff in the shopping cart and then metaphorically walk away. Leave it in the shopping cart, shut down that website and walk off and let it sit there and marinate, because whatever excitement or thrill you're feeling at 3 o'clock in the morning, the next afternoon at 3, you may not feel the same way about it. And so go in there and pause, build your collection of things to buy. I'm putting air quotes, but implement a waiting period. If you're in the store, you can put things in a shopping cart, but at the end, abandon the cart and walk away. You
Or
can
put the stuff
shop,
away yourself.
right? You can shop without actually going to the checkout. So I would either stop in the aisle and leave the cart and walk out to your car to sit and wait there for half an hour before buying it. Or you can sit in a chair in the store somewhere for half an hour, like stop yourself from running straight to the checkout counter, go sit down for half an hour and think about it. You can stop in an aisle and carefully pick up everything in the cart that is there now and pick them up one at a time and see if you still feel like it's needed, or if the initial flush of, oh, that's so cute, has faded and it can go back and not come home with you. See if you can't let go of some of the things you initially put in the cart. And you can do a preliminary adding up of the purchases, like stand there with your cart and add up how much it's going to cost you, see what your grand total is, and ask yourself if you'll feel good having spent a total of, XYZ dollars when you leave the store. Sometimes the individual pieces look really cool, and then when you get when you get the total, you're like, how did I get to $400? Like, do that math before you get in the checkout line and see what your reaction is, and maybe dial it back to a number that feels more comfortable for you. Here's one thing you can do. You can text a friend of yours with a picture of what you're about to buy. So pick your most diligent friend, tell them that you're about to buy this thing and what do they think. And tell them in advance that their job is to tell you, that's not your color. I don't think that matches your coloring. Where on earth would you put that? I don't think that's going to work in your house. Anything to tell you it's not worth the money to buy it. And agree ahead of time that they can say anything to make you laugh and give up on it without buying it. I have a client who says to me very directly, Gayle, tell me I'm never going to use that and I need to let it go. And I say exactly that back to them. And then it goes into the donation box. So, she's prompting me with what I need to say to her in order to let her let go of it. And you can line up a friend to do that, to stop you from buying things. And there's nothing like your friend who's like, seriously, why do you think that's going to work in your house? Like, you just need one of your sarcastic friends to be saying whatever they need to say to talk you out of it. And if you buy it despite their sarcasm and wit and silliness and, shooting it down, then okay, fine, then you only have yourself to blame. But you can give your friend a shot to talk you out of it, and hopefully they can do it and save you a little bit of money. Those are my lists. Those are my ideas. Do we have any other ones I haven't thought of? Who else has an idea
I'm
about it?
looking through the comments. Let's see. Samudra said you can walk away from your cart online, but the big box stores don't appreciate it. That is true.
Well, do we
Uh,
care what the big box store think? No, we
well,
don't. We don't. They're getting my money when plenty of times. And there's a staff person that has a store, have people that need a job. They have something to do. It gives them something to do.
Yvonne says, I talk to my friends or family about my purchase. Sometimes they remind me of decluttering goals.
Ah, there you go. See, you're getting a little external
Yeah, that's
feedback
great. A little accountability coaching from,
and a little interruption of your, path to losing money. Like they're trying to go, wait a minute, wait a minute. So they're serving as an interruption, which is great. That works.
Deborah says, the problem with shopping is that we're responsible for the end life of that product. If
Mm.
I can't see the end life of where this item will be and how I will responsibly and ethically dispose of something at the end of its usefulness, it doesn't come home with me.
There you go. And that's the conversation to have yourself when you fill the cart and before you go to the checkout, you're standing in an aisle and you're looking at all the items and thinking, how am I going to use this and how am I going to responsibly dispose of it at the end? And it's giving that item a little bit more thought than the initial I'm reacting to the beautiful display and the interesting item and the thing that caught my eye and I'm responding with my first emotional response to that object. And then if you can stand there later and go, yeah, and what would I do with it when I stopped using it and how would I dispose of it ethically? And that's really not something that I want to support. And like you can stand there and filter through your other parameters besides, oh gosh, that's so cute, let me grab it. And hopefully reroute some of that stuff back into the store.
This is CEEC
Okay.
says, when I pick up something in store, I visualize where I'll put it in the space I have. I see my clutter and put it back immediately.
Right? Or you pick up something and you think about it for a minute and go, "Oh, I have 6 of these already." Like I have other options. And if I bring this home, am I really going to surrender some of those things in order for this to take the place, or am I just making the burden bigger at home? And using those filters to not bring it with you every time. That's good.
Julie says, once I walked away from my cart at Target because I forgot my wallet. Never miss the stuff. Also realized the fun was in the shopping. Dopamine
Yes.
rush.
Yes, 100%. The fun is in the shopping. It's in the hunt. It's in the selecting. And then, spending all your money and taking it all home and trying to deal with it, that's the after lot. That's the after party. It's not as much fun. People don't like it as much and it's not, the thrill is in, oh, look, there's something new and it makes me feel good for a minute. It's like, yeah, and you don't have to take it home with you. You can feel good for a minute and you can walk away.
Okay, let's go into another question. Peggy says, I struggle with items that aren't in the way, but maybe aren't technically needed. I mean, I don't care to spend time deciding about them since they aren't in the way. Thoughts?
So I have questions for you, Peggy. Do you want the space that these items are currently stored in to store something else? Could you make better use of that storage space for something that you actually are using instead of something that you're not using? Would the room or the closet or the storage area be better accessible if these items weren't stored there? These items maybe aren't in the way, but are they helping your home feel densely filled? And would removing them make the house feel lighter and more usable and more easily navigated? I get why you're hesitating. Like, I don't want to bother with them because they're not in the way. And so the first thing that came up for me really is what does not in the way look like? And what could you have back if they were gone instead of just not in the way? And so that made me come up with all these questions around what would you use that for, the space that they're currently filling up? What would you use it for instead? Do you need the white space? Do you need the free pathway space in order to walk through an area? Do you need better access to the closet? And so these things are in the way. Do you need to store something else that you use more often in that space instead of the things that are there? So that's another level of considering that I would do around these items because aren't in the way and aren't technically needed, that's really close to out the door. So you might as well let it go out the door and end up with some, white space like we talked about, some emptiness that you haven't seen in a while.
Well, and I would add, rather than get too comfortable in the I don't care to spend time deciding about them since they aren't in the way, consider when will they be in the way? Because they will
Mm-hmm.
eventually be in the way. They're going to be in the
Mm,
way when someone else has to get rid of them for you.
right.
You know, at the very least,
Mm,
they will be in the way at some point, right?
right. That's 100% true.
Let's see.
We're down to Roberta.
Thank you. Okay. Roberta says, you've encouraged us many times to make decluttering appointments with ourselves. I feel making appointments is fundamental. However, my decluttering is sporadic because I don't make an appointment. This may sound dumb, but how can we encourage ourselves to make and keep those appointments?
The short answer is whatever you do to make sure that you get to the doctor or the dentist or your salon appointment, use the same system for appointments with yourself about decluttering. Pick the same time every week if you can. So you always know that Tuesdays at 1 p.m. I'm going to be decluttering. There's likely a consistent free time that you can time block for decluttering for this quarter, for instance, September, October, November. Even if it's just an hour or two, if you do it every week at the same time, it's just like going to church every week or putting the trash out a certain day each week. Just make a recurring appointment and make it semi permanent. Commit to working it for a quarter at a time. And you can do that on a paper calendar. You can do that on your electronic calendar. You can create reminders. Nowadays there's a million ways that your phone will remind you to do stuff in all kinds of apps. So you can have the phone be telling you today, don't forget, today's the appointment to work on decluttering. You leave out post-it notes if you want. It's really whatever system that you do to keep up with. I go to get my haircut every 5 weeks, or I go to the dentist twice a year, or the maid comes once a week to work on the house, or fill in the blank, right? Anything that you do recurring, you can set up and use to do a decluttering appointment. And the trick is, the dentist is annoyed if you don't come to the appointment, like there's some external pressure there for you to comply. But the only for an appointment for yourself in your own house, the only pressure is you acknowledging that there's an appointment and doing it under your own steam and under your own power. And so I think that's why making it the same time every week or every other week helps you to do that, because it feels inevitable. If you always do it at the same time, like you always, fill in the blank, right? And so finding that time in your calendar when you're willing to say, okay, I say Tuesday afternoons, it came off the top of my head, but every Wednesday morning, every Friday afternoon, every Saturday evening, fill in the blank. Um, whatever time that you have that you can consistently do, go for it, plug it in, and make yourself do it. And once it becomes a habit that, I hear people that come and listen to us and they use that time when we are talking for the hour to focus on a project while they listen to us talk. And so that they know the appointment's noon on a Tuesday, US Central, and whatever that translates to where you are in the world. They use that time slot to then do something while we talk. And so that's a recurring appointment that they're keeping for themselves to focus on a project while we spend our hour here together. And so you can do the same thing for yourself and keep it. And you can add in an accountability partner too. So if you set a time and date that you're going to do it, and you tell a friend, you tell a relative, this is my time and date. Can you help me by checking in and asking me if I've started doing it? Okay, this is your appointment time. Are you actually decluttering right now? Let somebody externally poke you about it a little bit until it becomes a habit. Go team, go.
Okay.
I know you can do it.
Okay, let's go on to Carla, who asked, what is the best way to declutter house linens? How much does an average couple need?
An average couple doesn't need a ton. You need two sets of sheets for each bed, one on the bed and one in the washing system, one in the laundry. If you want to change fabric weights for the seasons, a heavier fabric in the winter and a lighter fabric in the summer, then maybe you need two sets for 2 seasons and a total of 4 changes per bed. After that, variety almost never gets used or cycled through, and it just dies in your linen closet instead. We all think we're going to trade them out all the time, but do we really? Pay attention to how dedicated you are to changing sheet styles every week. And if you're not really that dedicated to it, then stop storing sheets like you do that. Blankets too. Blankets are part of this process. How many blankets can you have on a bed? One or two, depending on where you live and what season it is. So a lightweight blanket and a heavier one, or 2 weights of bedspread plus an extra blanket. Do that for each bed you have and donate the rest to the shelter right now, because saving those sheets for an emergency never happens. You've got And if there's an emergency, you have a backup set. And in the meantime, you can go procure another set if there's really some reason why you suddenly are without sheets. I defy you to describe to me when that will happen. And there's only so many beds you have in your house. And having 15, 20, 30 sets of sheets when you have three beds in the house, like, what is the point of that? Even if there's an emergency and everybody has to stay over with you and all of your beds are full and somebody's sleeping on the floor, you're still not going to use all the sheets in your closet. And so, whatever a disaster scenario you have in your head that is going to require all these sheets, you need to think about how real that is and how many people can sleep on the floor and sleep on mattresses and sleep on blow up beds and whatever in your house, and then stop stocking it as if there's another 17 beds in the house, because there's not. That's what I have to say about that.
And at the very least, go through and find the ones that you never put on because you know that one of the corners, the seam has opened up.
And it
Just
won't
go ahead and
stay.
get rid of that one right now.
Yeah,
Or the ones that
yeah.
are just badly designed so that they don't fit well.
They don't grip well.
And
Yeah.
so you wake up every morning with one corner of the fitted sheet wrapped around your shoulder. Get
Which
rid
is
of that set
annoying.
right now.
Exactly. And if you have sheets for beds you don't own anymore,
There you go.
if you have twin sheets and no twin beds, what in the hell? Like, why do those need to stay? They don't. So out they go. Shoosh.
Okay, Sandra says, I'm getting desperate for a spice organizing solution. Maybe
Okay.
Ed has one or your audience can come to the rescue. Here's what I've tried over the years: a countertop rotating spice holder, too bulky, too limiting in terms of format and number of containers. We
Mm,
use a lot of different spices. Transferring spices into Ziploc bags and storing them tightly in open bins in alphabetical order.
okay.
Several problems, including husband and teenagers not properly closing bags
What a shocker.
and whimsical notions of the alphabet. Color-coded bins that we still use with just the two of us. All four bins, a jumble of containers that reflect how my DH and I perceive colors. Is cumin yellow or brown? And she says it's yellow. Sandra says yellow, yes.
Right? So, according to Ed, it's less about the tool you use to organize and more about organizing the spices around how you cook with them. I like to use a product called a spice stack. I recommend that to clients a lot. It's a small rack unit that has three drawers that slide out and then hang at a 45-degree angle. The spice bottles lay on the slide out drawer, so they're laying out flat basically on the drawer, and they come out and then it hinges down at a 45-degree angle so you can see the spices. Um, and then,
I'm going to
you,
share an example. I'm going to share
okay,
an
you're gonna go find
example
one.
on the screen so you can see. Yeah, just this is
So you
just
can pull the spice
a
out you
quick
want
one
out of
I
that
found.
shelf, and then you can slide it back in. The unit's footprint is designed to fit on the average kitchen cabinet shelf. So it's like 10 inches tall and 10 inches deep. And, it will fit into most upper cabinet kitchen shelves.
Right.
Um, that they can sit stacked on the counter too. So you can have more than one stack it on a counter. Most people's spice collection will fit into two units because each of the slide out drawers holds like
The one I showed you was only about
six
six, but some
six regular size or
bigger ones
12
will
half
hold,
sizes.
yeah, up to 10.
Yeah,
Yeah,
depending
or
on,
even
and
more of the little ones. Yeah.
right. And then each slide out drawer, so then there's three drawers, you get 18. And so you can have, most people can use a couple of units and that covers most of their spices. You can also have, a unit on the counter and have one inside the cabinet. So the one in the cabinet holds the stuff that's less frequently used. Ed recommends when starting a spice organizing project like this, you get all the cooks in the house together. Everybody goes and cooks in the kitchen and pull all the spices down and separate them by some categories. Let them pull the things and say, I never use this and I don't like this, and nobody in the house likes this spice. Like, it's never going to get used. And eliminate all those that no one in the house will try to cook with. So you have had some. I know there's
Yeah.
always some. So everybody, as collective cooks in the house, decide what isn't going to pass muster, no, what's never going to get used, and then separate them out by some categories and let you guys decide what those categories are. Cooking versus baking spices is an easy category delineation. A collection of what you use the most of the time, you use the most often, would be together all on one shelf, which I think, regardless of what type of spice it is, if you have go-to spices that you use 80% of the time, then having those in one collection on one drawer, that's one of the categories that works for everybody, is these are the ones we use all the time. And then the rest of them sort in whatever categories make sense to you about how and what types of food you cook. And so, and why don't you describe your rack layout and the packet bin system that you use as an example? Because yours is, elaborate enough for somebody that cooks all the time. And so I think it would cover most everybody.
Yeah, we have two of the spice stack types of things. Three drawers that hold about nine jars per drawer. We have
Mm.
two of those, and I
So
start from
that's
the
36 spice jars right there.
right, and I start from the bot. No, more like no, tw three times nine times two. So
Yeah.
no, 54.
Oh, 54. You're
54,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was
So
doing
the
18
the
instead of
bottom
27.
the bottom shelf, which is the easiest one to reach and to see,
Mm.
is sort of frequent flyers. That's Penzies Forward, which is like a seasoned salt without salt. It's all,
Yeah.
it's a mixture of spices that goes in everything savory I make. And then I also have in the frequent flyers are like white pepper and some fancier peppers and uh, oregano, which I use a whole lot of, and
Yeah.
just some
Yeah.
that I
There's some that
use
you use. They're
like
like go to.
very, very frequently. And
Mm.
then the next drawer up is like Latin flavors because we do a lot of, a lot of Latin types of things. So these are different kinds of dried chilies and cumin, and oh, cumin's on the bottom shelf because I use that in lots of different
A lot.
cuisines too.
Yeah.
But so as you go up in the shelves, they're less frequently used. Like there's a drawer that's mostly Chinese, Indian kinds of flavors,
Mm-hmm.
and then higher up baking. I don't bake a lot of sweet stuff, but I have one that is all the sweet
Sweet
flavors,
spices.
sweet
Yeah.
spices that go into baked goods, and so on. And then separately, I have a turntable that has things that don't fit in there because you are size limited in the spice stacks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a
Yeah.
taller pepper grinders have to be on the carousel, and what else?
If you
Some
buy the massive spice size from Costco, for instance,
right, yeah. If you
it comes in those really big containers that are like
yeah,
quart sized.
things that you use so much of that it's practical to buy the bigger
Large
canisters with
quantity.
shakers and such.
Mm.
And then separately, I have a little bin that contains packets. And these are either things I use extremely infrequently, like fenugreek. I have some fenugreek, and I think I've used it twice ever.
Right.
And then also refills, because I like to just refill the glass jars instead of replacing them. And through Penzies, you can buy in their stores or order online packets that have more volume than the little jars hold, and
Right.
refill the jar several times from it. And there's just less to throw away.
And so
Um,
what you said to me earlier about that was that you in the bin you keep the plastic packets, you alphabetize it in the bin,
yeah, that
and
one's
that's your
alphabetical,
your
right?
back stock
It's
basically, and you
yeah,
treat it like back stock, and you refill the jars that you have in the spice rack system from the back stock in the
correct. Yeah,
packets.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
so that makes it, you can, store a little bit bigger volume in a manageable way, but you still have all the jars accessible and full with fresh spices in them to use. And so I think that's
And
great. That's a
and then
great
let's reiterate,
system.
if you're organizing your spices for the first time in a long time, first step is pull everything out and get rid of the
Mm,
stuff that no one in the household uses, or that is so old you can't even tell how old it is. Get rid of that
Right.
stuff and save yourself some room so that
Right.
whatever organizing solution you come up with is appropriate to what you're really going to keep and how you use it.
And I think that, when people start throwing away things, they start making a list of the spices they need to buy. And I'm doing that in air quotes. I'm like, if you're throwing it away because it was dead, it's because you weren't using it. So throw it away and don't buy it until you actually want it. Like, because I'm guessing, like most cooks, you can take the spices that you have and make do with what you've got and make something fabulous. And everybody will be happy with it. And they won't know that you did garlic salt instead of garlic powder, or, like you have a way to work around. And, that spice profile can be made up of all kinds of things. And so you can cope and you don't have to rebuy everything that you throw out because it's in there and it's been there for 100 years and you inherited your
Yeah.
parents' spices. Like, you brought some of those spices home from your parents' house and they don't need to live there anymore either. They've now lived in somebody's kitchen for 40 years and they're dead. So get rid of them and don't replace them.
Samudra commented, I didn't think Penzies did that. Yeah, Penzies, they have almost everything they sell. You can, besides tiny jars and 3/4 ounce jars, which is kind of the standard spice jar. Wait, that might be the little jar. I forget what the weights are, but they have the little
Yeah.
jar, the bigger jar, and then they typically have bags, like cellophane-ish bags that will
Wrappers. Yeah.
refill the jar once or twice, or even bigger bulk bags. And then another good source is nuts.com. Um,
Ah,
I think they have bulk spices as well, if I'm not mistaken. Naomi says, in Canada, we have the bulk bin chain of stores. You can buy a vast array of multiple different categories by scooping out of the bin.
there
I
you
buy
go.
my herbs and spices there because I can buy a teaspoonful if I only use a teaspoonful in a year. Solves the problem of the cubic meters of turmeric from the bulk aisle in Costco.
Right?
Yeah, yes.
Exactly.
Okay, we are out of time. We had more questions prepared. We'll have to save those for next time.
Yeah.
Let's talk about next week. We got we've had several comments from people who loved our ABCs of organizing, and I looked that up and saw that we did that in 2021, so it's probably time for an update. So join
Right.
us next week, September 23rd, for more ABCs of clutter, another alphabet of organizing solutions.
We get it, and you get a slideshow with that. There's a PowerPoint that goes with that. So
Yes, yeah.
you're going to
So
get more of Ed's graphic design, fabulousness.
we'll probably start with algorithms. A is for
Ah,
algorithms
there you
because
go.
we need
That's
to
a good
cover that.
one.
It's time to cover that again.
Hmm.
Why don't you give us the tittle?
Okay, this week's weekly tittle is Seek Peace in the Emptiness. This week's assignment is to begin to prepare yourself for the eventual day when your decluttering and organizing is in full on maintenance mode and you don't have very much decluttering to do at all. You just have to maintain. Reflect on activities that the clutter in your home is currently preventing, disrupting, or impeding. Jot down your answers to these questions. What leisure pursuits do you neglect because you feel as if you should be working instead? What creative activities have you avoided because you don't have the space or for fear of making more clutter? What social or community activities have clutter stopped you from hosting in your home? And what new family activities or traditions would you like to start if you had the time and space? And save your answers and return to this exercise again in 6 months or a year as you are 6 month or a year farther down the road towards your, empty space. So we want to hear from you. Go home and think about it. Do that little mental exercise and then come back and tell us about it because we want to hear what fabulous things you're going to get up to when you're finished with all of your decluttering. Come and tell us about it.
If you're watching this on YouTube, we would love for you to join us live. To get notifications about upcoming events, we invite you to join the meetup group by visiting cfhou.com/meetup. You can also follow us on Facebook by visiting cfhou.com/Facebook, or join our mailing list by visiting cfhou.com/subscribe. We love to hear from our audience, so please keep your questions, comments, and topic suggestions coming on YouTube, Facebook, or anywhere that you find us. You can always reach us through our website at clutterfairyhouston.com.
Being on the mailing list means that you get notices about your surveys, about the surveys we put out. Going to the website is where you can find the events listing and see, what's coming up when the next appointment, when the next meeting is, so you have the exact dates and times. There's plenty of stuff there's plenty of ways to interact with us. So we hope you'll pick one and come and join our conversations, add your comments, and we would really appreciate the people that come and interact with us in that way, and it makes it so much more fun for us. And that's how we get Ask Us Anything. We get to answer the things that you write down and tell us about. So thank you for providing those questions, everybody that did, and we hope you got something out of it, and we will see you next week.
Bye bye.
Bye.